Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
Okay, everybody, let's just do an exercise together real quick first, okay? Before we even get started in any of this chaos that we just watched, and I'm sure you can hear my heart rate right now because I can feel it. It's probably not healthy, but I can feel it, but I need to do this. Everybody with me, okay? Ready? Deep breath in, hold it, and out we go. Let's go, baby. What a game that was. Welcome to Game Over Calgary on SDPN Sports. My name is Audie James. Peter Klein not with us tonight. He's feeling a little bit under the weather, so we hope for a speedy recovery there for him. Definitely want to see him back here with us as well. But my goodness, what a game. And you know it was a good game. Oh, Jesus, I smoked my mic when Audie takes notes. I took notes for this one because I knew it was going to be a good one. But yes, before we get any further, I want to tell you a little bit. We were watching some playoff action today. Get all of your NHL playoff action at Sports Interaction before the game starts, live in play, or how your favorite player will perform. Canada plays at SIA. Doing it right since 1997 with the most competitive odds, Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Head over to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. 19 plus, please play responsibly. Okay, and when you talk about playing responsibly, what a game from some Calgary Flames. A lot of our Calgary Flames tonight, actually, when we talk about responsibility and offensive. Well, I took notes. As Robert says in the chat, I took notes. We're going to get into everything, though. One of the things I wanted to start with for this, because I was mustering over it before the game, before the stream, all this stuff. I was really stewing, and I was sat down. I had my notebook in front of me, and this notebook's gonna come back to be a recurring theme here tonight. But I took my notebook, I grabbed a pen, and I said, what are we going to talk about tonight without Peter? I hope to God we could talk about a Flames win. So there's point number one. Point number two, why don't we start it out with a Flames pregame wish list? What do we want to see from this game? And that's what I started with. Those were my first notes of the of my note taking that I apparently am all of a sudden an expert in now. And these are the things that I wanted to see before the game started. And we can kind of go through them together here as a group and see how, expectations versus reality, right? So one of the things I wanted to see was setting the tone early. Now, that's not something really that I think I saw tonight. The Calgary Flames did a good job. I'm not saying that it was a fantastic first period from either team's perspective, but definitely, not necessarily the start I wanted the Flames to have or I thought they were going to have coming back home after a huge, a big victory, probably one of their best games, if not their best game of the playoffs thus far, was their Game 4 victory in Dallas to tie the series up. I was expecting just high intensity, full octane, pedal to the metal. That's not meaning I wasn't expecting big hits from guys that we don't expect them from and stuff like that. But I just expected the pace to be maybe a little bit more intense than it ended up being. That's okay. I digress. We move on. Life goes on. We don't get that high tone energy. The second thing I put down, and this is going to sound like I'm poo-pooing over the Calgary Flames right now after a huge victory, which I'm not. I'm just going over what I expected in this game. The second thing that I wanted to see was peppering Jake Ottinger with shots early. And I can't remember which analyst on the panel actually discussed this or brought this up first, but getting shots on and rebounds and forcing chances. The Flames, I think the shots at the end of the first period were tied 7-7. So they didn't exactly thrive in that category, or they definitely didn't shatter my expectations, which was to pepper him with shots early on, just force a lot of traffic, force him to make a mistake. You put pucks on net. It's such a cliche too. You put pucks on net and good things happen. How many times do you hear that? So it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate into anything, but I wanted, which leads to one of my next points, which I wanted him to be tested early. I wanted the Flames to test Ottinger early, which they didn't quite do, but it is what it is. Again, I'm not here to poo-poo over the team. high pressure offensive zone to back into when we get into the third period recap. Like, let's talk about the end or some shifts in that second period and that pretty much entire third period that was dominated by the Calgary Flames. So I'll give them a passing grade in that, and in the sense that their high pressure O-zone time, I want to take you back to that game that unfortunately we didn't get to cover on our post-game show for the simple fact that technology hates us over here at the Game Over Calgary portion of this show. But yeah, they had a one shift in that last game where I believe John Klingberg and company were out for something like somewhere between 3 to 5 minutes. And I might be exaggerating. So chat, can someone please, if you're following this live, let me know and I'll be sure to read it along. But they got it was like a 5-minute shift or something like that. So either way, I wanted them to kind of carry that through and force them to take an icing call and get an offensive zone start out of a tremendous shift in the offensive end. So I'll give them a passing grade either way, because that there were some good shifts in that second period, and that entire third period was pretty much dominated by the Calgary Flames. So I'll give them a pass there. I'm not trying to poo-poo over the team after such a huge win. My last thing that I wanted to see was the fans to be loud and the energy to be at an all-time high inside the Scotiabank Saddledome in the sea of red, all that fun stuff. And we saw that early on. They didn't even get to George Canyon singing the anthem until after the fans decided to stop singing or chanting their "Go Flames Go" chants. So the fans were engaged early. They were chanting and screaming, and I truly feel like the players feed off of that. Guys like Matthew Tkachuk, they thrive on that stuff. Milan Lucic, whenever he touches the puck and the whole stadium goes Lou and does their thing, I think that they thrive off of that. And Matthew Tkachuk maybe didn't have his best game in the playoffs as a member of the Calgary Flames tonight, but those guys definitely feed off the energy. Matthew Tkachuk has said it before, so definitely was impressed with the crowd tonight. They had a lot to cheer about, especially in that third period. And shout out to everybody that was watching in the red lot. That looked unreal. Unfortunately, due to the fact that I have to host a show after every game, I probably won't be able to get out to the red lot, but I hope that everybody there had a great time and lots of cheering for me. Okay, before we get into our next talking point here, I kind of want to just get into some of these some of the comments. Okay, so Robert, get your notebooks. It's learning time. Absolutely. Lots of notes taken here. It may sound so silly, but lots of shots do not equal goals. You aren't going to score if you only get 15, 20 shots. That third period, they were shooting, and we won. That coming from Dan. And that's a really good point. I don't mean to say that, and my original point about talking about peppering him with shots, I didn't mean for that to come across as me saying they need to pepper him with shots because one of them's bound to go in. Like, I understand the fact that, if you get 20 shots and all of them are right in the belly pad and he gobbles them up, there's not much you're going to be able to do about that. What I meant by peppering him with shots early was I wanted to see him tested early. I wanted to see what the Flames, put pucks on, and I'm not saying they're going to score every single one of those shots, but at least test him. I wanted him to be tested early. I didn't want him to be comfortable in the crease. I wanted him to feel like, holy smokes, I got to get back into position because they're just going to keep firing these pucks at me. I wanted that to come from more of a battle-tested perspective, not necessarily in the sense that, all those shots are going to go in, because they're not. They're not going to go in. We know that. Let's see here. I live in Ohio. It's 12:30, and that third period has me wired. No way I can go to bed now. I'll tell you one thing. I'm exhausted. I worked a full day today, and I am very, very tired. But that third period fired me right up. I was like, do I make a coffee before the show? And I'm like, no, just inject that third period into my veins, baby. That's what it's all about. Great to see Mangiapane get that goal. I thought he was going to score before the game started. Perfect shot. Should help his mindset going forward. He was due. He's had a lot of really good chances, and he was due. Andrew Mangiapane with obviously the game-winning goal, excuse me, as I mumble over my words and stutter over my words. Andrew Mangiapane with the game-winning goal, which was a great play in the neutral zone by Backlund to get that puck up to him anyway. Backlund, who probably was one of the best Flames on the ice tonight. Great play by him to get that puck up the middle, and then the Mangiapane trusting his shot. That's what I saw in that play. The fact that he was streaking down there, kind of saw that he had a little bit of space between the nearest defender, and I think he had the advantage, the shot advantage in terms of him being a lefty. I think he had that advantage. So whoever, I can't remember who was defending him, couldn't get that stick in the lane, which is something Dallas has done tremendously all series, was getting the body in the lane, getting a stick in the lane, getting a skate in the lane, whatever the case may be. They're really good at just stopping the Flames, at getting passes and getting shots through. Whatever, that's not the point. But Mangiapane, I think, trusted his shot a little bit more there, and it was really evident. He put on an absolute, I'm gonna call it a piss missile into that top corner. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I guess we'll find out. Into that top corner, and it was one of the best shots I think I've seen in quite some time. And for a guy like him who scored as much as he did in the regular season, to finally see, that game kind of translates and move into the playoffs as well is certainly a good sign. So we'll take a couple more comments here. And then we'll move on to my next point. Conrad Soriati, can't hear you over Ring of Fire right now. Yeah, play that. Everybody in Calgary needs to have some Johnny Cash on repeat right now. Blast that Ring of Fire across the city. I better hear it from out here in just outside of Calgary as well. Lewis deserved that goal. Absolute workhorse. Very good point about that Lewis goal. The greedy side of me wanted the Gaudreau goal because that was the last thing I needed to hit in my 3-game parlay tonight. Sports Interaction, you're welcome for the donation. But had Gaudreau scored, I would have won a little bit of money. Not a big deal. But Trevor Lewis getting back on his horse there and picking up that puck and obviously sealing the deal there late in that third period was tremendous. So we'll continue along here. Some great conversation down in the chat. Be sure that if you're listening to this live, that is, be sure to put your comments in there. We'll get to them as best as we can. Lots of we want to get that engagement and interaction up as well. Okay, I want to take a look period by period because I feel like this was a very interesting game as it progressed. It was not the most exciting or entertaining game to start, and the way it finished was probably the best third period or the best period that I've seen the Calgary Flames play in this entire playoff. So let's take a look there, and we can kind of dissect it as we go. Okay, so the first period, as I mentioned, we're going to go back to the old notebook because Audie was taking notes during this game, and it was quite the game to take notes from. Okay, first period, I have no one really took control of the game, which is something that I wanted to reference back to that wish list that I had because, nobody really took control. It was just kind of a whatever period. Nobody really, it wasn't super dominant, or there wasn't anybody who really stood out, or they didn't spend a whole lot of time. No, both teams never really spent a whole lot of time playing offense in that first period. It was just kind of whatever. One other thing I have, Markey and Ottinger were definitely not tested. There was not a whole lot of high danger chances, as I mentioned, which is my last point in this section. Shots were tied 7-7 through the first period. So we know that there weren't, it was a defensive battle. That's where I really noticed Dallas was getting their stick in the lane and getting bodies in the lane and putting their bodies on the line with shots from the point. They just have done a really good job up until this point of eliminating. The Flames do a really good job at moving the puck in the offensive zone, but the Dallas Stars do an even better job of making sure that they've got a body or a stick in the lane that the Flames are, going to take there, and they eliminate those chances early, and then it's really not even a threat. So I got to give credit where credit's due. The Dallas Stars have done a tremendous job at defending the Calgary Flames up until this point. Decently physical first period. There was a lot of big hits, and I think the most the person who took the most of that was none other than Andrew Mangiapane, who will end up scoring the game-winning goal. But my God, did he ever take a beating there in that first period? A couple hits, almost identical hits. I think they were like only 4 or 5 minutes apart in the time clock behind the net. Looked a little dangerous. I thought his head was going to be scrambled eggs there. He goes back to the bench, gets a little tune-up, comes back out, and what do you know? The same thing happens again. And on the call, they said, he goes down the tunnel. He's going to get checked out, and that kind of scares you a little bit because we know what Mangiapane can be. But sure enough, he comes back out, and he's the Andrew Mangiapane who ends up scoring the game-winning goal in this hockey game. So hopefully not too much to fret about there on the Andrew Mangiapane front, but I did want to make note of the fact that he did absolutely take a beating out there tonight, and the Dallas Stars just definitely wanted to throw the body around him. Whenever they saw Andrew Mangiapane with the puck, they made him pay for it. Last point, as I mentioned, shots tied 7-7. It was a pretty low event first period. I don't know. I was watching. I had my buddy over. We were watching the game, and we both kind of just looked at each other like, as Peter and I would say, we've said it before on the show, it's just kind of what it was. It was just kind of a whatever period. It wasn't anything to write home about, but, that's where this game gets interesting. As it goes along, it gets more and more. If you could see my notes, the notes for each period, they progress and they get longer and longer and longer. But before we do that, just a couple quick. Let's see it here from the chat. Mitch's B. Craig Coleman was a workhorse. 88, 11, 20 forever. Yes, 88, 11, and 20 forever. Or I also really liked 88, 11, and 29. And that's something that Daryl Sutter did a lot of tonight. And it wasn't the Jeff Ward way of putting the lines in a blender and spitting them back out. I think it was more from a matchup perspective. And I think it was a brilliant coaching move from Daryl. The Dallas Stars have seen a lot of the same lines through this series so far. And not to say that Daryl threw these lines in a blender, but he definitely put some guys on lines that, you wouldn't expect to see. Like, I think we saw a line of Backlund, Lewis, and Gaudreau at one point, which was kind of interesting to see. But it's a matchups game. They've never seen those three before. We don't know if they've taken line rushes before, but the Dallas Stars couldn't defend it. And I thought that was a really good point. And Mitch with a good point there as well. Audie, do you think Jamie Benn gets another fine? Elbow to the back of Lewis's head on that zero-shot PK in the third. I think that it should be a little bit beyond that at this point. If they are gonna give him a fine, if it's I think that would be like you said, third fine in the same series. So I would think that would lead to a suspension, but I'd have to rewatch the play because I don't exactly remember off the top of my head. Okay, anyone think LA is taking the game tomorrow? We'll talk about that another time. I want to talk about this Flames one right now. The Oilers and the Kings can leave it all at the door at this point. We're talking Flames right now. 88, 11, and 20 should be called the collect line because their numbers together sound like those old saving on long distance commercials from the 90s. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm a mid 90s baby, so I can't relate too much there. I have a Calgary Toronto for the Cup. Would love to see an all Canadian final. Hard to root against my Blues. J-Rock, I've got the same final, buddy. So you and I are going to ride that together. Nate says, in your opinion, have the Flames solved Ottinger or have they just beaten down the rest of the Dallas lineup? So that's a good point, and it's an interesting one because I think that that Mangiapane shot was kind of the first step of solving Ottinger. I think that's the first time that the Flames have had a chance where they're like, holy smokes, we've aside from Game 4 where they beat him a bunch, but outside of that, the first time that they truly beat him to a side, I think Mangiapane knew exactly what he was doing with that shot and with that play. So I don't think that they have necessarily solved him, but I think they're getting there. I think they're on the right track. It's tough to say, though, because Ottinger has been probably the best, if not one of the best players in this whole series. Okay. I'll let the rest of the chat kind of catch up here, and we will quickly move along here to the rest of my notes. Handy dandy notebook. If you're a 90s baby and you watch Blue's Clues, you'll know all about that reference there. I digress. Second period, I said showed signs of dominance. There were a couple long ozone shifts, and that's kind of where I think the Flames started to find their offensive game, and things kind of started to shift a little bit for them. It was kind of midway, not a little bit midway. I think it was mostly midway, like about at the midway mark is what I'm trying to say. Once again, as I stumble over my words as I do, that they kind of they had a couple shifts there consecutively because I believe there was an icing call on the play where they set up shop and they had a couple minutes or something like that in the offensive zone, and the broadcast did a really good job of showing the Dallas Stars that were on the ice and how long they'd been on the ice for. And at that point, it was like going on a minute 45 by the time they iced that puck. And then, the Flames get a fresh set of legs out. They set up shop and they go back to work. But obviously, Dallas is able to eventually evade that. So they definitely showed some dominance in the second period. And that's kind of where things started to go up and trend upwards here for the Calgary Flames in this game, at least from my perspective. Fluky 1-0 goal. That first goal, I'm sure they want back, the Flames as a whole, because it was a very fluky shot that I thought initially on the broadcast, it looked like Jacob Markstrom actually got that with his glove until you look behind and the puck looked like it was going to trickle in, and then it eventually does as it goes in off the back of Noah Hanifin. Fluky 1-0 goal, you want it back, but it's playoff hockey, and that's kind of just what it is. Jason Robertson should get not a whole lot of credit for that goal when it goes, it was initially kind of blocked and then went in off the back of Hanifin. But whatever. This is where things also kind of looked a little bit down for the Calgary Flames. I found that they weren't doing a really good job, or the Dallas Stars were doing a really good job of again, blocking those shooting lanes and those passing lanes, because it seemed like there were just too many forced passes, and that's something that wasn't really a detriment, as the Dallas Stars only ended up scoring one goal in this hockey game, so it didn't really come back to, bite the Flames in the rear end or haunt them too much per se, but it definitely was, it was noteworthy because it was a lot. We saw it often where, Matthew Tkachuk behind the net, they're trying to set up the play that they would usually do in the regular season, where they got one guy down low and Lindholm waiting on the doorstep kind of thing, a tic-tac-toe goal. But Dallas has done a really good. Dallas knows this. They've seen this before. They've probably seen the tape too, and they know that this is how they set up. So their defense is going to adjust accordingly. So too many forced passes, and then at the end of this period, once again, 18-18. We're tied there. So 7 shots apiece in the first period and 11 shots there in the second period each. Okay, let me read some of these comments. I'm just chuckling because I read one from Robert. Audie, what is wrong with Tyler Toffoli? Please fix my boy. Look, he is so due, it's not even funny, and it's not for a lack of so many good chances. I think I'm so at a loss for words for it as I try to explain this, because Tyler Toffoli is playing some pretty good hockey. He's finding, he's getting so many good chances. He's finding the open spot to put himself and getting shots off and getting, high quality chances. But then it's like a fluky shot, or it's he fans on it, or he just gets stoned, or he hits the post. So I don't know what's wrong. I think I deep down in my heart of hearts, I think he's playing a little bit hurt. He doesn't look entirely the same as we've seen him in the regular season as a Calgary Flame. And yeah, I don't know. I just deep down, I think he's playing through something. But I definitely hope not. Okay, Nate, we just got a letter and the Flames. Yeah, there's the reference to Blue's Clues for all my 90s baby. Toffoli to me looks like he's just barely a step or two out of sync with a play. I think he shakes it and has a breakout next series. Okay, we're getting ahead of ourselves. We still got one more win, but I do love the optimism, and I do think that's a high probability as well, high likelihood. Second game where the Flames score 3 in the third period, this one coming from Charlotte. What's not clicking for them in the first 2 periods? I don't think it's so much as they're not clicking as Dallas is just... This is the thing about this series. These two teams play such a similar game that it just seems like it's so easy for either side to defend. Because I think, honestly, Charlotte, the same thing could be said for Calgary, or vice versa, the other way around with Dallas kind of being what's not clicking for them. Well, I don't think that things aren't necessarily clicking, because I don't think they're playing terrible hockey. I just think that the team on the other side is they know the game plan. That's their style of game. They know how to defend it. They know how to play it. So that's just my 2 cents on that there. I don't understand why Yarncroke's production has dried up since he went to the Flames either. New system, I don't know. There's a lot of things that can go into that, coming over and, not being, it's a new team. Not trying to make excuses for the guy. I think he's done some good things outside of putting up huge numbers, which I don't think he was really brought in here to do anyways. I think he's playing a better, third and fourth, like bottom six role there. So he's not going to be lighting up the score sheet night in and night out, which is to be expected at this point. But I don't think he's I think he's been productive in other areas in offense, and if that makes sense. Win the cup, lift it up. Let's go. Yeah, Robert, I wouldn't be surprised either if he was a little hurt. Montreal sucked all the puck luck out of Toffoli last playoffs. I hope not. The Calgary Flames have won both games they've played on the same day as the Stockton Heat. I'm not superstitious. I'm just a little stitious, if you know what I'm saying. So we'll leave it at that. Let the chat catch up here. And let's move on to the final frame here, which was, by and large, far and away, whatever verbiage you want to affiliate with this third period. Probably, at least from my dollar, the best third period, or the best period that I've seen in this playoff so far for the Calgary Flames. It was a lot of fun to watch. I put down in all capitals as my first note, keep shooting the puck, because they came out early and hard, and they were shooting the puck, and they were getting shots on, and that's where I was like, perfect. This is what I wanted to see from the beginning of this game. They're going to be getting they're going to start to set the tone, I guess, for this period, and they're going to start actually challenging Jake Ottinger. So I loved that they got on it early, and they were able to pepper him with some shots. I said also crash the net, because there's been lots of rebounds in that third period alone. I wish I had the numbers in front of me. Someone in chat, if you're smarter than I am, can you bring them up in the third period? How many rebounds were allowed? Because for Jake Ottinger, that is, I don't even know if anybody can find that, if it's even tracked. I'm sure some stat site somewhere has it, but the amount of times Jake Ottinger made the initial save and wasn't able to corral his rebound, there had to have been, you had to have somebody crashing the net, because those rebounds are right on the stick of guys like Matthew Tkachuk, Milan Lucic, the big boys who crash the net just like that offensively. And, all of a sudden you can start generating some more chances. Maybe you catch him out of position. But I also think that the fact that he was allowing so many rebounds goes back to my first point of how many shots they were getting off, and how he was being tested, and maybe he got a little shaky. So after that, we get the Backlund goal, which was perfect execution, a little bit of a miscommunication there for the Stars D, which you got to find those open areas like Backlund did. He noticed that they were a little bit caught up, gets to the open area, puts himself right on the doorstep, and taps that goal in for a 1-1 tie game. And then I put down what a flop, LOL, by Jake Ottinger, because there was a certain point in that period where I think he took a little tap in front of the net, and he kind of flopped and dove like he just got shot. Is what it is. And then what a shot by Andrew Mangiapane. We talked about this a little bit earlier, and this is where we'll park a bit of time for the Breadman himself, because I think that goal was just a monkey off the back for him now. I think I think for the next game, we're going to see an Andrew Mangiapane in this playoff series where, I think he kind of comes out a little bit more, and he's got that goal. He's maybe solving Jake Ottinger a little bit here. We'll find out, I guess, in due time on Friday when they face off for Game 6 in Dallas. But I think we're getting to that point where we're starting to maybe figure him out, and I definitely like the way that Andrew Mangiapane is trending in that category and in that direction as well. Then we get the Trevor Lewis empty net goal, which we talked about just how relentless he was on that play. The greedy side of me, you're welcome again for the donation sports interaction, wanted it to be Johnny Gaudreau, so I'd hit my parlay. Did not happen. I lose some money. It is what it is. But Trevor Lewis being able to get back, I think he got taken down in the neutral zone too. He was the one who played that puck ahead for Gaudreau, who missed the net, and then he's the one who crashes in and grabs that rebound and fires it in to seal the deal. So all in all, one of the best periods of hockey I've seen from this Calgary Flames group in quite some time. And, I don't think it's too far-fetched to say it was their best period of the playoffs, as I've brought up a couple times so far in this post-game show. So Flames win at 3-1, 32-21 the shots favoring the Calgary Flames. Let's go back to the chat real quick here. Stanley Cup and Calder Cup would be awesome. It would be, and it's really not out of the cards, especially for Stockton, who had themselves a hell of a season. Shout out to my boy Matty Phillips. Michael Stone, talk about our Lord and Savior Michael Stone. Okay, this guy, and I'm so glad that Mitch brought it up because I actually wanted to park a bit of time for Michael Stone. He's been playing phenomenal since they put him into the lineup, and he's going to earn himself another deal. I'm convinced the Calgary Flames are just going to keep signing this guy to one-year deal after one-year deal after one-year deal. And it's funny, the old joke on Flames Twitter is, all right, it's the offseason. What day is the Michael Stone signing going to be announced, right? It's a tale as old as time. He's been playing fantastic. I've been really, really, really impressed with the way that I love how he shoots the puck too. My God, that guy's got a cannon. He hits the net, and he's not afraid to shoot. I think last game, in the span of 5 minutes, he had something like 8 shots. So he's shooting the puck. He's trusting his shot. He's getting it to the net, which is important. Now, I just think the Flames need a little bit more traffic in front of the net. Get some screens in front of Ottinger, and maybe Michael Stone can start converting. But he's been fantastic, man. Holy smokes. Thoughts on Dubé hitting Otter outside of the paint? I think it was a clean play. Was that the one, J-Rock? I'll come back to you if you can correct me. Is that the play that I was talking about earlier where he bumped him and then Ottinger flopped? Because if that's the case, then I got a lot of words for Ottinger for that one. Okay, let's see. Thoughts on Klingberg losing his cool and slamming the bench door? Yeah, love to see it. Couldn't happen to a better guy, right? Let's see here. I think that's just about it in terms of comments. We'll let them catch up a little bit here as we close in the final little segment here of this show. But just my all in all notes and how I felt about this game, because I feel like, I went through my whole list, and this is not documented. This is something I put the pen down, I put the book aside, I look back and I say, okay, this is the game I just watched. How do I feel? Am I comfortable going into Game 6 in Dallas? We know that building's loud. We talk about it with Peter, how much he hates the clap, clap, Dallas, clap, clap, Stars. And I hate it too. I think it's obnoxious as hell, but that's just me. But how comfortable do I feel after a game that was progressively better? And the simple answer to that is I do feel pretty comfortable. I do feel pretty good going into a Game 6. I hope the rest of the Flames fan base feels the same way, because holy smokes, guys, this was probably one of the third period performance that we saw. If we can get 60 minutes out of that in Game 6, I like the odds. You guys know I like to throw some money down and gamble. I like the odds on that a lot. If the Flames can play a full 60, the way that they played that third period, the way that they controlled the offensive zone pressure, the way they challenged Ottinger and made it hard for him by throwing pucks on net and all that fun stuff, I'm very confident. I'm feeling very good. 3-2 is good. I know there's going to be a lot of naysayers on social media. There's going to be a lot of people that, won't believe it till you see it, which to those people I say, I don't blame you. That's fine. This team has done this to us before. As fans, we know how to expect, we know what to expect of the Calgary Flames in the postseason. So let's just hope that those expectations can be they can prove us wrong, is what I'm trying to say here, and that they go into Game 6, they get a dub in Dallas, and then that's it, ladies and gentlemen. We the demons have been, I don't even know how that saying goes, but they're moving on, is what I'm trying to say, and that's something that the Calgary Flames have struggled to do, was get out of the first round. Okay, one last look down here at the chat. We'll go through some comments, and then we will wrap it up here for Game Over Calgary. Okay, let's see here. Yes, bumped him outside the paint, and he delayed flop. Yeah, that was bad. I don't think... I've got a lot of opinions on goalies coming out of the paint. Not the time, not the place, but... I don't think it was clean. I don't think it was dirty. I just think it was what it was, but I do think the flop was hilarious. That thing was great. Most things in Dallas are obnoxious. They do say everything's bigger in Texas. Please remind the Leaf fans that 3-2 is good. Okay, Leaf fans, if you're watching, Robert, Steve, Jesse, Adam, you guys are all not watching, but if you're watching, 3-2 is good. 3-2 is good. I'm going to hate to see Steve's heart rate for the Leafs play tomorrow. I'm going to hate to see Steve's heart rate for the Leafs game tomorrow. Maybe he just needs to follow the breathe in, breathe out that I did, but I think he's a little bit too far gone for that. Steve, it's going to be okay, brother. We're going to be good. I've got the Leafs going to the Cup final, if that's any consolation to you. I'm not necessarily confident the Flames playing this good in Dallas, but if it came to Game 7, then for sure back in Calgary. Yes. And yes, demons being exorcised is what I was going for. What do I think of Tkachuk moving lines? Okay, this is the last thing I'll talk about because Matthew Tkachuk, I don't think, had a great hockey game today. And I think, he'll probably be the first to admit it. And I'm sure a lot of Flames fans will probably agree there too. But yeah, I think that was more so a product of the fact that I don't think he was having a good game. And Sutter was just kind of trying to find a spot for him where it could work. I hope he comes back next game and exercises those demons because he didn't play very well, and I think he's still got a lot left in the tank here in this playoff stretch. So, Audie killing it, smoothest game over Calgary yet. Great work, thank you, Mitch. Great night, awesome episode of AEW Dynamite, and a great Flames game. It's Wednesday night, you know what that means. Y'all, Flames questions, me, shenanigans. I wouldn't have it any other way, Robert. That's why I love it when you're in the chat and you moderate it so perfectly. Everybody go say thank you to Robert. Just killing it there as a moderator in the chat. And you know what? While we're on the topic of thanks, I want to thank you because you stuck it out with me. This is my first solo show. It was I was nervous. I was excited. I hope PK's okay because I miss him. Peter, come back. I miss you. And I hope you guys had a good time. I hope you guys enjoyed this Flames win because my goodness, did I ever have a fun time watching this hockey game and being able to report on this hockey game after the fact. So be sure to like, subscribe, all that good stuff that you're supposed to do. If you're listening on a podcast, be sure to follow the podcast, give it a great rating because we appreciate that stuff and we hope you enjoy it. Be sure to follow at SDPN Sports for everything that's Game Over related, including Calgary, Toronto, Montreal with Andrew, and maybe some more eventually down the road. We'll see. And be sure to follow me on Twitter at Audie James. That's AUDDIE James for a lot of Flame stuff. And I like to take a lot of L's over there. So if you enjoy watching people suffer and take L's, that's the place to be at Audie James. Thank you guys so much for sticking around and watching this. Go Flames, go. Let's get ready for Game 6. We'll see you guys on Friday for the next edition of Game Over Calgary on SDPN Sports.